And in last module, identifying in utilizing technology and crisis, emergency and risk communication. We'll be discussing on that. So before we start our today's session, we have some ground rules which I would like to share here. Please kindly put your phone in silent mode. Please be careful about the social distance. And in question answer session, please ask the question in a very short and specific way. And if there are any emergency, please be careful when you are exiting. And the evacuation map is in front of you. That is also given in your My Clear bag. And there is also the pre-test and post-test form, which please take some time to fill out. So we have a facilitator, Panchkal Municipality Deputy Mayor, Honorable Lakshmi Danwar. So now I would like to request the facilitator to run the session. I wish you have a successful day. Thank you. Thank you, Prakash sir. So through the Zoom applications, all participants and warm namaste and greetings. As Prakash sir already highlighted, I represent the Panchkal Municipality Deputy Mayor, who is here as a facilitator, the role of facilitator. And on today's session, to start the session, we are here in a module number 10, the psychosocial support and emotional care. For that, we have a very much expert in this sector, in communication, leadership, and in training, who is a very expert in this sector, Dr. Kishore Adhikari, and I would like to invite him on the dais. Sir, we'd like to welcome you in this floor, and now I'd like to hand over to you to begin your session. Dr. Kishore Adhikari, the floor is yours. Thank you, madam. The participants who are present physically and also participants who are participating from virtually. All of you who are here with us, namaste to all and greetings. Today, altogether we have a 30 minutes presentation, emotional care and psychosocial intervention. We focus on that, and all of you, those who are here and also from Zoom, all the participants, I would like to make a mindfulness practice, because there is a crisis, stress, and because yes, so to manage some stress, we have small measures, and before to begin the program and to internalize the issue, so we would like to take advantage of it. So I'll give you some direction, instructions and guides, so please follow that. So please follow the instructions which I will be giving you. This is a mindfulness practice, and mainly this is kind of from the meditating techniques, and this is very much scientifically proven, and it is practiced globally, which is benefiting more. We'll talk more on that separately, but let's get some experience on this. So I'll be guiding you. So please be straight to sit on your position. Make yourself relaxed position, and the way you feel comfortable, please make yourself comfortable, and all your attention, please take your attention to your body, Close your eyes, and what you are thinking in your mind, just pay attention. What opinions, what thoughts are coming in your mind, what sort of vibe you are experiencing in your body. Feel that. What comes in your mind, please observe it. And all the motivation, please focus your motivation into this practice. Slowly feel what you have been it's going on in your right legs, left leg, in the middle part of your body. Experience that, what is going on your right hand, left hand. Please experience that internally. And feel the muscles of your face and your head, on your forehead. Please experience that, and please make your back straight, because now we are in this situation. So gradually please pay your full attention to the nose, area of your nose, and focus on breathing. The breathing in, breathing out. So your objective now is you take in, breathing in, breathing out. So focus. If you miss any counting, 1, 2, 3, and then you will be remembering that if you are missing. Breathing in, breathing out, you feel that naturally. It comes naturally. The way you breathe other days, please take the same position. You don't need to change anything. And feel the quality of the breathing in. There might be deep, shallow, hard. Please focus on that. Likewise, there might be many thoughts going on in your mind. We call it kind of, monkey mind, because the way monkey is jumping from one branch to another, our mind is also jumping and playing around. So please remember that, observe that, watch it, and keep that on side, and focus your attention on your breathing. Take breath in, breathing out. You can feel that. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, feel the relax. Breathe out, feel the relax. Some thoughts are playing in your mind. If you are not able to pay attention, also please observe on that. Oh, I'm not able to focus. Keep that on side and keep your full attention on your breathing. Now, please observe your whole body at a time. What thoughts are playing in your mind, observe that, and slowly you can do this process in your house every day, 10 to 15 minutes, and it will have a very good positive effect in your brain's cells and neuron. That is what my experience and also proven from the scientific research. So gradually you can open your eyes gently. So now, since we don't have more time, I would like to jump to the topics. Well, here, importance of emotional care and the psychosocial what is the psychosocial thing. Will inform you. So how can we face or deal these psychosocial issues? Because it is creating the mental health pandemic. We have been taking a lot of information. So what sort of strategy we should prepare? So how can you do that direction? We'll be focusing on that. And the second thing is the mental health. When we say mental health, it is not a mental illness. Mental illness is something uh, that are the name of the disorder which are considered as a disease. But the mental health is a different, like one to another between you and me. So when we call about mental health, people might think differently, but mental health is something different. How can we establish relation to each other in adversity? How do we deal with the crisis? Like our children, how do they focus or do activity in their way? How we are caring ourselves? How we are playing the leadership role? And in this kind of disaster situation, how we are dealing and how you are doing, that is the collective uh, components is itself the mental health. So if you are doing it properly, for example, XYZ, X person is playing their responsibility in a full place, and we can understand that mental health is well. And if there is some disorder, then we should not feel that they are sick or it is a disease. No, there might be ups and downs in mental health. So as far as we know, the mental health, especially during the disaster, what happens is in our body, there is a flight or fight. There is a nervous system in our body, and if there is any problem, then during that emergency, it prepares to deal with that. That is a biological system which is embedded in our human body, and in the disaster, it is very much working. So in the other time when we have a stress and during the problem, it prepares us to deal, but when that is happening for a long period of time, which is affecting negatively. So what we need to understand is the mental health, and in this situation, it is very natural. Everyone faces ups and downs in their mental health, and it is normal. That's what we have understood. So in this kind of situations, we call it psychosocial problem. What we need to understand is there are two words in psychosocial. One is psychological and next is social. When we call about the psychological, that talks about inner world that represents by psychology, whereas social, the term social refers to the social environment, the domestic environment, surroundings, financial situation, and their peripheral situation, how those social external factors is impacting the internal. That's why there's a psychological things are internal, whereas how the social context affects the internal part is the social. So the psychosocial problem is something that our internal. For example, I have some depression, or if I have some hopelessness. For example, if I have some fear or some threaten, or if I lose my self-confidence, and my family things like relations or the economic things, that also may affect my internal world. That's why we call it psychosocial. And the psychosocial, what is psychosocial support then? So one is like directly their internal world. What is there is a disorder. So if we can understand the support that we understand their internal world and giving some assistance. And next is what is their social environment situation by uh, adapting their social environment. And if we could give support understanding and with the support of the social environment, then that is called psychosocial. So when we say psychosocial support, what we need to understand is support in a way that we give which affects in their internal environment, which can facilitate, which can ease their internal environment of an individual. That support we call is psychosocial support. And during the crisis, why the psychosocial support is needed? Because in the crisis, people there is a loss of so many things. People may lose their relatives, there might be loss of job, property, there might be some grief. So these are natural things in the crisis and disaster. We have experience in the 2015 earthquake, and naturally there is a distress. And when there is a distress, and if that is a negative, we call it distress. And there is a fear, sense of fear, frightening, and depression. We should not take it as a disease. I might be gone in a depression. I might be sad today. I might feel sad. People may feel traumatized. So all of a sudden, people may get shocked. There might be anger, anxiety. Why only happening to me? Why here? Why to me? Why for me? Even God is not looking after me. So that kind of emotions may arise. So substance abuse. People may use substance abuse of alcohol or the excessive use of alcohol or the drugs, and sometimes people may feel so much distress, and sometimes, like people say, like they just talk within themselves, or people feel so much distress. So because of that, various research has shown that because you are the local leader or the community leaders, so these problems, to deal with these problems, what sort of role should I play, or what sort of system we can manage to facilitate this situation? These things are very, very important. So what sort of population or what sort of people have this kind of problem then? Many people have a problem, but most of the vulnerable population, mostly the children, like if you can remember that at first people were very happy that they don't have to go to school, but after 15-20 days, then there was a problem among the children. At first they were very happy that they don't have to go to school and don't need to do homework, but what is the uncertainty? Then they did not have a cognitive knowledge, because they were not able to develop that. And also to the women, why it happens to the women? Because as the deputy mayors are here, like the psychosocial, because of our socio-economic situations, our social provisions and management is not very much women friendly. That's why also women were very suffered, and other people who were taking pills or the medicines were medicating, it was triggering to them, and also to the elderly people. And if somebody in this kind of in disasters, if they have a negative experience in the disaster, if they have a good experience now, they are able to face or heal. But if they have a negative experience in the past, then those people might be hardly hit from this, hardly affected. So because we do have a socio-economically vulnerable or the minority group, because they have a very less degree of coping capacity. So that is what research has shown. So what we need to do then? The first and foremost is the way, if we just fall down, then we talk about the first aid and the psychological first aid, PFA. Psychological first aid. The benefit of this is, in the future, if someone has a stress or suffering through stress, And if we can just talk an hour with them, then it may stop from suffering from the mental illness. Yes, it is one benefit that they are stopped from mental illness, and also they can be uh, they cannot be they will not be suffered. That's why there will be less economic burden to the government or the state. And some people may affect more. So that time the expert psychological care should be provided. To give the psychological first aid, we don't need the experts. Like, you can talk about an hour, or you can how to speak to them, how to be non-judgmental, how to approach, how to listen is also a very good techniques to approach. Therefore, the police administration, who are the first responder, likewise the female community health volunteers, women volunteers, we can mobilize on them. And we are talking about the PFA, and this is not for the expertise service, but this is just the first aid, so we don't need specific knowledge or the specific skills. Anybody after a training, like if they can take a better training, that's fine, but if not, then they can also take a very basic trainings, and we can do this service from the basic knowledge as well. So we can do this in an individual counseling, or as well as in a group as well. So the psychological first aid is very, very important. So whatever they do or they work, there are three principles. Look, if anyone is suffering through the problems, you need to have a close look, observation. If you find some problem, because when you speak to each individual, then you can see something and look, listen, and link. 3L. Look, listen, and link. If they have any other things, where to link? Where can they access the support? Giving them information, linking them, referencing them, or introducing them with the other groups. Like, if he or she is alone, then linking with the families or the members or relatives is very important. Because if we see from the evolutionary process, the human being, when they are in a fear and in the crisis, they always look for their own longings or the relatives. And when the family is very supportive, then it is very easy for them to face and cope. We have three principles. Since this is not the specific training on psychological first aid, but since you are the leaders, you are in a leading role, so I'm just talking about the creating environment and your role. So these 5 things: equity, creating calmness, safety, connectedness, self-help, and the promote hope. So these 5 components, if we could talk on 5 things, they are saying that in a John Hopkins University, researchers made some study, and the findings says that around 80 to 90% of those people who are gone under stress, and 1 hour discussion or 30 minutes sitting to them and just listening them is very much helpful to normalize the situation. And that is the direct support, and there is also need of social support. If they are separated from the family, linking with them, family reintegration, supporting to the family reintegration or meditation, that is also not good in an isolation. Now we are doing it in a Zoom because of the social distancing. We are doing it in a Zoom, but after the pandemic, even having them in a group, people get motivations. Like when we do the group exercise, it's so much beneficial. But if we go in alone, then it is not very much useful. But also the peer support is very important. If we could create the peer supporter group of peer support, that I will talk concrete way later. And anybody, you have only 5 minutes. So in 5 minutes, and the primary healthcare providers. Now, because we are in a primary healthcare system, We don't need to have a separate counselors if you don't have a sufficient resource, but if we can give additional small training to the primary health providers, then the security personnel, women volunteers, teachers, I mean especially the head teachers, principals, they can work as a career guidance in a longer term. That also we need to focus on. And if we could not pay attention on that, then there might be post-traumatic distress disorders. So various kinds of these post-traumatic disorders and anxiety, depression, that experience may lead to the disease for longer term. So, and there might be substance use of drugs or alcohol. If we are not being able to control this psychological uh, distress early. And next is suicide. Almost 1100 plus people committing suicide. Already there is a high rate of suicide, and this is triggering to the suicide, to committing suicide. Crisis always triggered the suicide. Triggered crisis trigger the suicide, and crisis is always linked with the this hopelessness. Why I should live in this life? What is the meaning of my life? Why should I live my life? So when people have that kind of mindset, then that is a root cause for the suicide. So during the crisis, it is very prompt that the level of degree of hope is very much gone down, so that it's very important to sit with the people and talk something like there was a some information in a Facebook, because some people even don't get the mobile phone and causing committing suicide. Some people say that kind of things as well. And in a community level, I come to the conclusion now, in the community level, from the mothers group or small psychosocial support training can be provided to the volunteers. Health workers should get mandatory training on that, because it can affect in a long term, like in a, even in a post-pandemic situation, like there might be some mental health pandemic. Like if you are not able to have a one counselor in a school, maybe one teacher can be trained to provide this kind of trainings to the headmasters or the principals, so that we can do that kind of facilitation. And in a school, uh, how can we manage our emotions and social? So we need to give that training. So if you don't have that in curriculum, we should include that. And also sports and athletics should be developed. And like the family of the migrant workers have a lot of problems. So you have 2 more minutes only. So I will share this PowerPoint later on, and I will also be happy to respond to some questions if you have. And at last, and leader, what leader should show the leadership is like there are 7 things which are clearly stated. One is leader themselves, community leader themselves should be able to manage their stress. That's the first thing, that the meditation and other kind of things. Second is they should be able to generate the hope and kindness. That is an empathetic leader. Oh, it is not only to you. There are so many people are suffering from like this. No, you should not say that way. So you should be honest and transparent, because sometimes the authority, sometimes you speaking and your assistant speaking is very different. So you yourself should be able to present and communicate. So they are also suffering from that. That's how people say that. You should be playing as a role model, and you should be able to give the feedback. So many people are talking about the feedback. We need to create feedback sessions. This is how you can build these systems, and maybe we'll share that more in later. And if we could do these things, the emotional care, we can do some sort of good management. Thank you. And if you have any questions. Thank you, doctor. We'll move to the questions, and in 1 minute, if any participant have, maybe we'll take one question only. Likewise from Zoom also, we are already receiving some questions from Zoom. Let's take from the floor first. Is there any questions? We have a question from Zoom. From Bajura Triveni municipality, we have a question. Radhika Devi Sunwar is asking, Nepal police data shows that after the COVID-19, the rate of suicide is increased because of the lockdown. What government is making decisions to reduce this suicide? The question is very relevant. Uh, Perhaps I think the ministry representative will come later to give the official answers. But since I am out of the government system, um, I can I can inform something, even though I'm a little bit not the directly government representative. What I can say is system is not sufficient and adequate. Immediate, we need to have an immediate response. Only we should not focus on the central government, but it should be intervened from the lower level, from the grassroots level. If we could begin from the grassroots, then especially you as a deputy mayor, or if you could, it's not a big amount of money, but if you could take initiations, I think we can respond. Thank you, sir. You have given lots of information to us. For himself, he is a psychological expert, and he has already made us very clear. First, we have to pay the attention on this area, and we need to understand what is the psychosocial counseling, what is the mental health, and this is the ups and downs is the normal thing, and this is the psychological things. And when it comes to the psychosocial, it is the internal and the external, so environmental aspects, because no one is suffering from the problem, and because since this is a crisis, everyone may suffer from it. So this is a mental suffering that may come. Thank you very much. And so anyone can understand. You should not be the expert on this. So from the three learnings, three principles, we have to have that. Thank you very much for that as well. We would like to give you a round of applause to thank you. Thank you, doctor. Likewise, now we have a second session, for which we have, for the second session, we have from the Zoom, who is Dr. Tulsi Prasad Thapalia, who is from the Ministry of Education, and what is happening in education sector, regarding the education sector. I think he will also link on that. So Dr. Thapalia, Tulsi Thapalia. So I would like to invite you, Dr. Thapalia, I would like to invite you for this session. Excuse me, interpreter is speaking. The interpreter is not able to hear the speaker's sound, so I'm unable to interpret. Can somebody from the technical desk assist the technology, please? This is interpreter speaking. The interpreter is not able to hear the sound of the speaker, so unable to interpret. Can someone from the technical desk assist, please? Interpreter speaking. Interpreter is not able to hear the sound of the speaker. So can somebody from the technical team assist, please? This is interpreter speaking. The interpreter is not able to listen the sound of the speaker. So, can someone from the technical desk fix the problem? Once again, this is the request from the interpretation booth. The interpreter is not able to hear any sound of the speaker. Can someone from the technical team fix it, please? Apology for the interruption for those who are listening the interpretation. हजुरको यो आफ्नो कम्पनी हो हजुरलाई चिन्न मन लाग्यो पछि बोलाउँदा Okay. So now here comes the translation. Now I am able to listen. So there is a red dot which says the children with special needs, like children, students with disabilities. We need to understand that because the normal program cannot uh, cover these things. So that we students with different disabilities. So how many students with disabilities are where in what situation? We need to collect the data. Move ahead, please. So student identification and classification is very important, which I was talking about earlier. So what sort of technological support and need is important for what kind of students? So that it's very important to identify the school and students. Where is the role of the local authority is very important. So maybe like one teacher can take a responsibility of one cluster, one neighbor by mobilizing the volunteers as well, so that we can identify the data and the classification of the students and can bring the programs accordingly. Next is, as I spoke earlier, the immediately what we need to do is the distribution of the textbooks and reference materials and other reference materials should be published. And in some palikas, I have received the information that, like in some few palika in Kavre, they have already printed and distributed. I spoke to mayor from Sindhu Palchak. In our palika, we have already distributed the books, and in some books, it is been the self-learning materials can be developed and distributed. That is also important for them. And in many places, radio is useful. Even the local level FMs are very important, where the teachers are broadcasting the lessons. The important work that we should do is, yes, we are broadcasting the radio. From the radio, how many are listening? What is the point if the students are not learning or listening? What is the challenge? How to ask that? So there should be coordinated role. There should be somebody to coordinate. So the teachers and parents can be mobilized. Some of the Palika is already practicing this. So Palika can coordinate with the principals and SMC, school management team. They have designated the focal persons. Okay, for this number of students, this teacher is the focal person. This is how they have managed. Otherwise, who is tracking, who is listening or not? The teachers are broadcasting lessons from the radio, television, but who is tracking? So the offline materials can be provided to those who have a internet and IT, the computers, and we need to do the tracking and how to make the question and answer sessions where the students can ask. Move ahead, please. You have 10 more minutes. I don't need to speak very much on this. And the role of local government, identification of the students is a major role of local, and which students have which technology access and which technology is feasible for what students, and on the need based learning center can be established. This is very important until the schools are open formally. So there are total 35,000 schools, among them 15,000 plus, around 43% students have less than 100 students, those schools. So the teachers are living in the same geography. There is no transition, no risk then, and by following certain standards, they can start their schools, like following the standards by the health ministry with the necessary precautions. Then they can do something for students learning. Otherwise, if we wait for that, then it will be too late, because the risk will not go away very soon. If we wait until the health issue is over, then it may be a huge gap, because we may not know when it will end. So for the learning facilitation, teachers can be designated. We can ask for the monitoring, and for the facilitations, we can also coordinate for that. Like in Rupandehi district, there is a Kalika Gyan High School. They send the teachers by the school. They use the television studio, and they have been recording the television from the television, and they have been broadcasting it. and the municipality is supporting to broadcast that lessons from the television. So the teachers, schools, and with the support of municipality and the television studio, they were able to produce and broadcast the lessons not for one municipality but entire districts, all the students. So we do have a lot of these alternates. As I said, we do have a lot of alternates, and mass gathering sensitization program is very important. Where are the risks, what to do, what not to do, what should do, should not do. The mass awareing program is very important. That is the role of the public government. So from the Asad one, which is from day after tomorrow, from the 15th June, where again I want to say that the use of textbooks and the self-learning materials, and in a community level we can do the cluster level learnings, and we have been preparing the materials from the federal level, and we have prepared the radio television textbooks and lessons that are being broadcasting from the radio in Radio Nepal, and these are also broadcasting from the radio local FMs as well, and from the television from 1 to grade 8 it is started from 10 a.m. and the routine is published in the website of the Education and Human Resource Department. All the routine is there from which will be broadcasted from Asad 1. This is what I would like to request. And the fourth thing is Dish Home, Net TV, and that kind of cable TV through the cable TV operators. So we have been broadcasting video materials for grade 9 and 10. So from grade 8, 1 to 8 from NTV Plus, and grade 9 and 10 is broadcasting from other channels. So this is how from 1 to grade 10 all the materials have been broadcasted from the television, various television channels. So for the students from grade 1 to 10, one or the other way, some materials will be broadcasted and published from day after tomorrow. But again, I want to request that just broadcasting is not the indicator of the students are learning. When the students are participating and learning, then only it will be fruitful, where the local government and the teachers in a local level can help on this. Then only this program will get more effectiveness and the students can get the continuous learning process. This is what we can expect. So this is my general request, and now if you have any quick questions, I'll be more than happy to enter on Q&A. Thank you. Namaste. So we can take one question from floor, one from Zoom. Thank you so much for timely finishing your presentation. First, let's take questions from the floor. If you have questions. Please ask your questions. Namaste, I'm Sushila Adhikari. Since we have a facilitator from Ministry of Education, we have been trying to promote the educational program through the broadcasting channels. Like in some suburb area, peripheral area of Kathmandu, once the lockdown started, then they left Kathmandu and went back to their home. It's very challenging to contact with them, because in our community schools, most of they are coming from outside Kathmandu, peripheral area of the Kathmandu, and staying here, but now they move back to their village and we are not able to establish any contact with them. So how to facilitate to them, because we don't know whether they have a technological access or not. So the number of students might be very much decreased in our school. So how can we ease these things? And next is whether it is relevant or not, but like for ECD, so you are creating the teachers quota for ECD. We have a teachers for ECD, early childhood development, and we have been providing only 6,000 rupees per month. And for the Nepal government's labor law says that, Labor Act says that less than minimum wages is 13,500, whereas ECD, early childhood development facilitator teachers are getting only 6,000 per month. These are the two questions, which is below the labor law. Shall I answer? I have a question. due to the COVID. Please introduce yourself. Please introduce yourself. The way we are trying to promote the learning practices, uh, don't it create some gadget addictions? The way we are saying that we should not give, in a way we are telling the children that we should not give the mobile or the telephone sets, then don't it go in a telephone or gadget addictions? What ministry is thinking on that aspect? Thank you. Well, did he didn't introduce himself. He didn't introduce himself. I want to ask my questions. Now we are talking about a virtual education, and whatever system Minister of Education is adopting might be good, but those students who are far from access, like where the public schools, where the government who are working as a daily workers and used to go to the study, for those students whether virtual education is possible or not, this is the question. Thank you for the questions. We have one question from Zoom, that is from Topendra Prasad Rizal. So in this pandemic, for the remote villages, neither there is electricity nor internet facility. So how government can ensure the access to education for all? And like Zoom, where there is no Zoom, no TV, no internet, there are 21% poor people who do not have this any access. So these are all the similar kind of questions. So, sir, could you respond, please? Thank you. You asked very important questions. I would like to thank for your important and valid questions. Sushila Adhikari asked one question: what to do for those people who are returned back to the village? Yes, we are trying to make the school responsible. And when the students are very not nearby the school, for example, student A is traveling to next districts from one place. So how the Kathmandu school can coordinate to the students who are moved from other places? One is school can search, where the students are now, and next is wherever Palika, wherever place now the students are sitting, then in this guideline, what we have said is the Palika, this local government, can do the survey where they can check if they have other students who used to go into different schools, but due to the lockdown, now they are in that community. So if they can gather that data, then we can design that educational program, and that in the same Palika, we can design that program for that time, because those people are not now in Kathmandu, so that the respective local municipality where the students used to be in Kathmandu but now are in that area, so that the respective local Palika can facilitate on that, but for that data need to be collected by the local municipality. It doesn't take additional cost. What will happen is, because there are already other students in that local area, maybe one or few students might be added who used to go to different schools, but due to lockdown now they are joining them. And you talk about the salary issue of the early childhood development teachers. We are very serious on this. Time and again we have been putting efforts, but it's very challenging to generate the resource. Now the recent discussion is, the latest discussion is, I just want to give you some indications that we need to take some partnership models, so that at least minimum wages should be given. It is very important, but how to manage the number of the teachers, that is another discussion issue. But based on the student ratio, whether we need the same number of teachers or even less teacher is sufficient, because in some area, like we have a number of students is very low, but the support teachers are very much high, so that if we could do the proper mapping, maybe we can manage the resource for that. So you are in the complex area, so I can only give you some technical advice on that regarding the resources. Whether there might be gadget addiction, you didn't mention your name though. Yes, there is a possibility of gadget addictions, but we need to see that from the two aspects. It may you may feel that like a joke, but don't take it otherwise. For example, like when students are using the gadget for the playing, and then it's very challenging for them to stop doing from that. But if we ask them to do that in a reading and study, might be challenging. So we have some doubt that if they want to use the gadget for learnings, we want to have that in a positive way. So this is for the immediate management. So we don't want to make it for the longer term. Our first motto is and aim is to open the school as soon as possible. So we would like to open the schools from the quarantine, and in those schools clusters where are not pandemics or the infected, we are discussing on that area. We don't want to close the school for the longer time. If so, then there will be long term big effect for that. And for those students who are, for the virtual learnings or the online learnings, next questions, for those who are far from the access, and I think that is similar kind of questions. This kind of question is frequently asking. Time and again, I'm saying this. So that's why I would like to request our efforts should be or is whatever students have, whatever type of access, we have to use that. Same, for example, if in any students group there is no internet or no television in that area, teachers are very close to the students, and if they are living in the same cluster, then they can come for a few hours, maybe in a public places or in some trees or in some temporary learning centers, and they can teach for a few hours. This is how we can facilitate by through the teachers. I think that methods will be appropriate, because these are the problems in very remote area where there is no technology. If there is no technology, then there is also risk of infection. So that's why we need to see that alternates. So rather than we saying what is the, because one size doesn't fit to everybody, so that one method is appropriate for one and next for next. So I think I will say this much. Thank you so much for your questions. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Kapalia. You have clarified so many things. Your questions is also being answered. Yes, definitely. Our from the Education Ministry. So we had from the MNE, we had Dr. Tulsi Prasad Sapalia. Thank you very much for him. He has clarified so many things. Yes, of course, there is inequality because one has access, one don't have access. Those who have a Zoom, television, or applications, they are learning from applications. But those who are far from technology, but if they are the volunteers or the experts who are nearby, we can also facilitate from that. Thank you so much. Ministry is continuing various modes of learning, and they are now in good preparations. Thank you very much, Dr. Kapalia. And now we have a third speaker, District Coordination Committee member from Solukhumbu, Dadoma Sherpa. I would like to invite Sherpa for your presentation. So I hope the speaker will finish within time before I give some signal in terms of time. Are you able to listen to me? Dadoma Sherpa, are you able to listen to me? So welcome. Interpreter speaking. There is a little bit disturbance in the sound, so interpreter is not clear to not being able to listen clearly. So apology for the interruption. So leaders has a lot of role because time and again there might be various kinds of crises where the leaders should take important role. For example, now in due to the coronavirus, the society has been suffered from various forms where the leaders have very important roles, especially the local leaders, elected bodies have an important role in this kind of crisis situations. Well, talking about the Solukhumbu, it is the tourist destination, and most of the people are dependent in tourism. But especially since this is a Himalayan mountaineering districts, so it is very challenging for the agriculture. So most of the time, this construction and the agricultural things need to be transported from the lower range districts. This is a Himalayan districts, mountain district, and many people are involved in the tourism. But in a recent time, due to the COVID pandemic, people are very much suffered. Those who are involved in the tourism sector. Due to some interruption, the interpreter is not fully able to listen the speaker, so there has been some interruption. I would really like to make an apology for inconvenience for those who are listening the English interpretation. However, the interpreter is trying best to listen and give the summary translation after a few paragraphs. Really apology. Since it is a upper hill, very high range of the district, so it's very challenging due to the pandemic and other crises. The transport system is not smoothly running, it is interrupted. As a result, there is a chance of black market and overpricing, and the stocks are very much shortage and items are not being easily supplied. That is a challenge. it is the road connection is connected with the Okhal Dunga and other districts, but now the another district Ramechhapi is also going to be connected by road with the Solukhumbu, and only in a lower part of the district there is a few area where there is a agricultural production, but there is a need of new opportunity for the youth motivation, because we have only one border with Okaldunga to reach to the Solukhumbu. So in the days to come, so there we should have another border, another connection to enter into the Okaldunga. So the local people and the once we have an alternate road, then the local people will be more benefited from it. So we have altogether 8 local governments there, local level, and all are collectively working to have the road connection with the Ramechhap, another districts. Well, due to the COVID-19, many people who were in Kathmandu now back to the Solukhumbu. So now now they have been realizing that we should focus on modern agriculture. The farmers are also focusing on that, because various head and deputy head are now motivated to invest in a local level so that the youth can retain in the local level, in the village. So since it is the Himalayan range, so the production is very low, and there is a very less stock and very less warehouse, and especially in the crisis, there is a shortage of the food items and other commodities, and also chances of overprice. We don't have a big stores, and also there is no sufficient road connections, and the production itself is very less, and also lack of store. People are not able to stock the items, especially the food items, in the crisis situation. So there is a big need of huge need of big size of stores and warehouse for the storage of the food during the crisis. So it's very important for the authority to have a clear information and database of the stock items of the food and other commodities, because we don't have that data, especially in the lockdown. Now, like how many people in Solukhumbu are able to use that stockpiles? It is no one knows. So the government should facilitate to the local traders for easy environment, and there should be regular market monitoring to control the black market. There has been some surprise monitoring has been happening. However, it is not effective as it should be. The multi-sector authority is doing periodic monitoring to stop the black market, and there is a need of opening the subsidy shops for in a lower price. With the leadership of the district coordination committee is coordinating with the various stakeholders. District coordination committee is also working, especially in this pandemic, how to ease the supply, and we have been also uh, discussing with the honorable members for the adequate and authentic information dissemination. We have been utilizing various community radio as well as social media is mobilized for the information dissemination. Various awareness raise programs are run by the radio, and radio is playing an effective role. Since there is a federalism in the country, youth leaders are elected in Solukhumbu, and the local leaders and representatives are well educated, so that they have access to the mobile phone and social media. As a result, they have a better communication. So when there is any emergency, the district coordination committee holds the meeting and try to facilitate for necessary programs. Well, in Solukhumbu district, with the leadership of the district coordination committee, we have a various honorable members, all local bodies, the local laborers, local authorities, and the police force have been meeting, having various joint meetings, and interpalika meeting is also organized. Well, this is my slide. Thank you so much for this valuable time and opportunity to share. Thank you so much for this opportunity, especially to Tribhuvan University and Crisis Management Center. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Daruma. If anybody have a question to her from the floor, I'd like to request. Is there any questions? We didn't see any question in Zoom, and also there is no question from the floor. So thank you so much, Daruma. You don't have any questions. Thank you, Madam Daruma. Thank you so much for your valuable time and presentation. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. We would like to thank you. I'd like to thank. She was District Coordination Committee member, Solukhumbu, Dadoma Sherpa. Thank you very much, Ms. Dadoma. She has informed us about so many things in this risk and emergency and in communication crisis and leadership. She made a presentation on that topics where the logistic management, procurement, and there are a lot of challenges in plus opportunity in the procurement as well as in the crisis, where there are a lot of challenges, and especially the black market, natural disasters, and the price is overpricing during the crisis. And there is also opportunity. When it comes to the opportunity, all type of local people, the interpreter is not again able to listen the audio from the speaker. Apology for the interruption. So she also present about what sort of things we have to be prepared. So now we have another session. Now the next session is procurement, billing, and the supply chain. What are the constitutional and the legal provisions? We'll be having another sessions. We have an advocate, Honorable Honorable Member Kimlal Devkota, I would like to invite you for this session. Welcome, Mr. Kimlal Devkota, Honorable Member, for your presentation. What are the constitutional provision and the legal provision? So now the time for advocates, Honorable Member Kimlal Devkota. Thank you. Namaste, all of you. We are in a long discussions. I know that you are participating here, and from the Zoom participant, you have already been in a position for 3 years. You have already practicing that. So since this is the topic that you are already practicing, I don't need to speak more. So I just want to make some flashback. Oh, this is the thing. So I'll speak like that way. And the second is, what I'll speak is, like now we have a COVID-19 topics. You have been fighting very honestly, and while you are fighting very emotionally, but very honestly, but somehow you are not able to, satisfy. It's very challenging to, satisfy them. You yourself is not able to. So something is happening. Why this is happening? So that's what I would like to share my study and my experience in my presentation. And after that, and I will also talk about the COVID-19 and what is the legal provision, constitution, and also in a procurement of health commodities, what is the provision and what is the supply chain problem, and at last, what role you have to play and what is the current expectation, what can be done so that you will be more accountable and you will be praised. This is how I will end my presentation. So I will make a very summary. I have only 4 bullets in my presentation. While talking about the procurement of health commodities, what is the role of the federal and province, and what is the role of the 3 tier of government in socio-economic situations, fighting with the disease and also looking for prosperity after fighting and winning the pandemic. So these are the things I will cover. Before that, one thing, beyond the slide, why this idea came in your mind? This is a communicable disease. And this is the jurisdiction of the federal. This is a disaster. Where is the disaster management? That is in the province and the federal. And there is a provision of in the constitution, that is a provision in Public Health Act, and that is also in a Disaster Management Act, there is a provision, and also there is in Infected Disease Act also have this provision. There are 4 different acts, and government is taking the Infected Disease Act. So that there is a kind of problem in terms of some, because the fund is in the federal. So the management need to be done by the local. Quarantines are in the local level. It should be managed locally, and the people are losing their job, which need to be managed by the local people. Swab collection is also done in the test need to be done in the local. Lockdown need to be very tight. That also should be applied by the local. Please maintain the distance and use the masks also in a local level. All the responsibility is in a local level, and rights is in a federal, resource is also in a federal. That is the problem I have seen. Why in what basis I am saying this is, I have also discussed this in the parliamentarian committee, and this committee also give the suggestion to the parliamentarian committee. Hey, this is not your fault, but this is not the fault of the situation, but these are the mechanisms, and there is a lack of coordination among the existing mechanism. That is the conclusion. So please don't get confused or don't go in dilemma. You should rather focus on what is next or what to do next. So that is, we have a four things: Infection Act, Public Health Act, Constitution, as well as disaster management. We have a regulation as well. And what global has done, Nepal has done, and what will be the conclusion. I will focus now on that. I have few facts. There are some infected disease that is in a federal jurisdiction. That is that the local government cannot make the emergency situation. In a public health act, that the health emergency is situation can be declared by the federal rights. And we have a disaster management DRR act, and that is not used by the government. And now we have a infection disease act 2020, and it talks about the control, but other provision doesn't speak. We have a public procurement act, and they have a provisions, and one of the most problem is the procurement act, because we have to follow the procurement act, but in the same act, in a special conditions, you don't need to follow all these procedures in a special situation. But in the special situation is also defined that, since that is infection disease is also act is applicable, so that whether we can use interpret that special situation or not. We have this is almost 60 years ago. That act was 60 years ago, older act. So now it's not English 2020, it's a Nepali 2020, which is now 57 years older. It only talks about the control of the epidemics and testing and control and prevent. That's what it talks. And what is the provision? And they can have a 1 month or 100 rupees punishment, or both. And it can go up to 6 months or 600 rupees. And the CDO has the rights. That is the act. 60 years ago, that was sufficient. But now this is the only act, and this act is not sufficient. Therefore, what government is doing, where is lapses or where is missing, this is something happening. This is what causing problem. So in between what government is doing, we need to rightly analyze that, because we have a high level of coordination committee. Lockdown is done, lab are expanded up to 25. Before that, the first swab was sent to Bangkok, but now we have they have a daily update and a procurement of health equipments. Relief distribution is happening. Standards were there, and they have a Service Regulation Act is also there. In all three tiers, the fund is established, and district coordination committee will have that funds. And how can we? And they also make the resolutions in the parliament and discuss. Now they are talking about the distance maintained, because we had a parliament assembly was there, but now we have a assembly, and now we made the constitutional assembly. The national unity is demonstrated, and various order has been issued. That is what current government is doing. Well, internationally, what others did is we need to compare. In America, they have a social distancing guidelines. Australia, they had a quarantine with Guatemala, Canada, Thailand, and others. They made the emergency. They declared emergency. UK, France, Italy, and they had a lockdown law. Lockdown should not be given from the ordinance. So they asked, well, which law you have? Because they have a civilized law. So they made the law. It was not from the ordinance or orders, not from orders, not ordinance, but orders. And some people make the law particularly focused with this virus. In some cases, they made the proposal or resolution in the parliament and approved that. And in some cases, we have also distributed relief. But in our case, we just distribute the relief. But that should come from the state fund. Without law, we cannot use that state fund. For that, and globally they say that economic support bill was passed, and in Korea there was a two supplementary budget. Globally they are doing this, but in our case we did that. So in our context, what we did is like it's a kind of picture. Oh, what are doing others, what others are doing, and what we are doing. This is the learnings, so that we cannot repeat the mistake again. And so procurement of necessary equipments. There was a dispute, debate, because government want to have a procurement act, and it took so much time. There was a commission, corruption, those issues were there. Then it was given to army, and army said that G2G. Then it is a very challenging in a public procurement. But in the supply chain system, it should be transparent, and it should have coordination with multi-sector coordination should be there. Along with that, and we need to see the practicality, we need to see the awareness, we need to see the competency, we need to see the expertise, so that we ever supply this, then we need to check that, and we also need to prioritize the local items. So those kind of components were there in a supply chain. So what we need to do that. So that's why there is a supply chain. So it says that. And in our Disaster Management Act, during the disaster, if we need to procure, this is a special situation where we don't need to follow the Public Procurement Act in a special circumstances. But it was not, the Disaster Management Act was endorsed. It was not endorsed. So, because in DM Act, it explained about the special situations. The pandemic is the special situation where you don't need to follow the Public Procurement Act. It is clearly said by the DM Act. But our problem is the DM Act was not endorsed. Instead, they used another act. So now, in many cases, like they don't apply the public procurement when we do the G2G, this process will not be applicable. For that, we don't need that special circumstances. But what I want to say, it was very much highlighted why this happened. What is the proper, whether they may use the proper law or not. As a result, this problem will arise. And we'll talk about our coordination in the disaster management. If it was the DM Act was applied, then there is a high-level commission on the right. There is the opposition leader is a member. Also the traders, industrialists will be there. FNCCI will be there. That is the provision. But we use the different act. That means there is a high-level commission is there. In the deputy prime minister of the was the chair. So other ministers were the chair. And in terms of coordination, government tried this effort from their limited space. And now there's a CCMC, COVID-19 Crisis Management Center. They have that. And from the yesterday cabinet management, the high-level commission is deactivated, and 3 ministers were added, and now the CCMC will be more activated. And this office from which was in Chhaoni, and that office is now shifted to the Simhadarbar, and these structures were made. Especially this health sector treatment and logistic group, and the peace and security, and media and IT group. So there are 4 different sections, and this is how we do the coordination, and this is how the government is making the full sufficient effort for this coordination. This is how government is working. What government is doing? Sometimes we feel that they call it CCMC, high-level committee. So sometimes we feel that. So this is the situation. So after this, it talks about the 4 stages. In my conclusion, as I mentioned, I don't talk much because you are already well experienced. We need to listen to you. So I want to go to conclusion. So first is use of appropriate law in this kind of crisis. Again, because in my own, like a leadership in crisis, my own study also said that in the crisis time, so we should not block the leadership by not making any decision, and right decision on right time. Either they make the right decision in a wrong time or vice versa. But the right decision on a right time is a problem. It is not happening. So that appropriate law is very important in terms of declaration, in terms of procurement. So the legal things should be very clearly endorsed. Sometimes if you give the date, then the people extend the date. But how to extend the date? Do you have a law? No. And it should come from the orders, but that is not also coming. So, like a Supreme Court said that okay, they say that they make an order from the Supreme Court. So now they have to make that all those these deadline and others, they make that, and the immediate work is like you are the local governments. You need to do three things: preventing from the disease, preventing from the hunger, and also activating the weak economy. You are making the budget very soon. You are the coordinator of the budget consultation committee and also revenue committee, and you are the coordinator of the monitoring. So that means you have these three focus in your responsibility. If you could focus on that, then you will be success. And the goal, what to set the goal? Socio-economic transformation, achieve the economic growth, and our constitution want to achieve the socialism. So this COVID is pandemic, it will come and go. It will go anyway. But we need to take the lessons and how to face in the days to come. But because you are not only have a COVID responsibility, you have to do other responsibility as well. So in 3 bullets, please focus on that. And if you could make the budget on that, oh yes, these leaders are making true. Thank you. I finished. So if you have any questions, I will listen and I'll be happy to respond. Thank you, Honorable Devkota. If you have any questions from the floor, you can ask, but in a very brief, especially without any background, okay? I would request to straightly put the questions without any background. Thank you so much for the clarity. We understood so much. At first, you said many rights have is held by the federal, but the responsibility goes to the local. To solve that, what sort of policy that you can apply so that local level problem can be solved? Thank you. Thank you so much for the questions. And we also have a question from Zoom. We have some questions from Zoom. Questions are: someone is asking from live. They want to ask themselves. Please ask your questions. Go ahead. Please ask the question. Are you listening? Please unmute your mic. There were another question. Question is for the leadership development. So for this effective communication and leadership, so This question is related to DCC. She is already left, so Daduma ma'am is already left. So next question is, in the crisis, all the time the decision is taken very quickly in the crisis, but medical and the medical equipment, and they did not, it is been alleged that the government is not taking right decision. Mr. Janak Misra, Sundar Bazar Municipality, Lamjung. And we have another question. Ek Maya Bika, Khajura Deputy Mayor, Goa Municipality, Khajura. She is trying to ask the question. Welcome. Yes, we are listening. Please ask the question. Interpreter is not able to listen the sound of the speaker, so unable to translate the question. Now the local government is, because how the local federal government can play the role in terms of home quarantine and others. Because so many families, even they don't have any hut to sleep. Because because now government is thinking of developing home quarantine, but there are so many poor people who have a one-room house. Is it possible for them to make the home quarantine when the 5 to 6 member of family is living in one room house? Is it possible? So I think all three tier of government should coordinate. That is my question. And next is, and another important is, like the tipper was accidentally fall down into the river, and there were the people from India, and so many people were killed. But the government has to face a lot of things. Why I am sharing this is, the swab is being collected, but the testing is happening in a very slow pace. Like we are only able to test the 200 swab in a day in Nepalganj Very Hospital, because we are collecting around 800 plus swab, but testing is happening only 200. So we are facing very challenging situation. So to make the procurement process ease, so what federal government can facilitate? Thank you. Thank you. I request, I want to ask one question. Namaste, Honorable Member. I am Navaraj Bhatrai from Budhananta Municipality. Again, there is an interruption in the sound. Interpreter is not able to listen. There is a saying that the local government is independent to make the law according to their needs, but still due to the bureaucracies, it is very challenging to develop the act. It is not only the problem of our municipality, Budhanilkantha, but all in 753. So, since we have a clear, autonomy to make the act without conflicting to other tiers, can local government make the procurement act without conflicting the other acts? I'd like to request to the honorable member, the Honorable Devkota. Thank you. First, thank you so much for the important questions. I'm not sure whether I can answer all the questions. Two things. One is a coordination. Next is the procurement of health equipments. And next is to make the law. These are the three major questions mainly. First and foremost, yes, the rights are upheld in a center. When we see the list of rights, it is in the federal, but the responsibility is in a local, and in pandemic, and the WHO is the pandemic. When they say pandemic, this and all the responsibility should be taken by the state. So that is another thing. And the third is the local government. They didn't make the Infection Act, and the DM Act is also not applicable. As a result, they have problem. Next is whether they can make the law or not. The rule is the power, money, and the law. Previously they said that tax and bullets, but now they have a tax and law. So when the local government can generate the tax as well as generate the money, and also can make the law. If they want to make the pandemic act, they can make. If they have made the DM Act, they can do that. If they can make the Public Procurement Act, they can do that. But it should not be conflicting with the federal law. It should not be conflicting with the provincial law or the constitution. As long as you are not conflicting, you are allowed, but you should do, because you are it is the government, so you can do that. Second, the coordination. I myself is involved that in a federal, local, and province. In the National Assembly there was a long discussion, and I think some of you were participating in that. The National Assembly has already passed, and that is in House of Representatives, in a lower house. And once it is passed, then the problem of the coordination will be resolved. But that act is not passed. So where the bureaucracy is stuck is because when the federal make that law, then because we have to follow that federal law, that little bit reluctancy and being proactive, there is some problem. So in my suggestion throughout the country, or the local representative leaders, is in your jurisdictions you are free and independent to generate the tax and make the law. I'm not saying that your constitution is giving mandate to you. You can make that law. That is my second. And the third, the procurement. As I mentioned, if the DM Act during the disaster, you can make the special provision in the procurement, and where you don't need to follow the Public Procurement Act. Once you don't need to do the public procurement, then when is need, you can procure. You being transparent, accountable, and responsible is, of course, we don't need to tell that to the elected body. But the problem is not only in a local level, but also in a federal government, in a public these materials procurement. There is a dilemma because this Infection Act don't talk about the procurement. That's why we have to procure in a regular provision. And if the DM Act was applied, then in a DM emergency, then it was clearly said that you don't need to follow the public procurement. So even now, to the government and to the officials and all three types of government, my advice would be, me as a law student of law, that would be my law. So if we could go in that direction, would be nice. And at last, in my opinion, so somebody asked one question, and in your questions, as we said earlier, yes, rights are in a center, responsibility is in local. So how to solve that? What to do to solve that? Just a few days ago, CCMC made a decision that now the fund will be released to the local government, local level. Before I come here, I saw that. So around 2 crores, 20 million is generated, and 1 crore, 10 million is generated. Even the local revenue is not released to them, so that the central government will be open to release the fund. This is what I think. So I think I'm not sure whether I was able to respond or not. I think the time is over. With this, I would like to end my presentation. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Devkota. He made a very sweet presentation. He spoke about the constitutional provisions and legal provision, and he clarified about various things and what is our role, what is our rights. He also highlighted on that. So thank you. We always say that in our local level, we, without having rights, only giving responsibility is not very good. Sometimes it's a saying that your hands are locked at the back and you are offered the food on the plate, and how can we eat that since our hands are tied and food is offered on the plate to eat? So how to eat that? So in the future, so you will be raising these issues that local authority will be given more rights. With this confident, I also request, and this is my confidence, because this is very important. These are the demand of the local people. That's why also I'd like to make this request for you. So many things you made this very much clear. He's a very senior advocate as well. He talks about the act and what will be the problem if we just don't follow the act, and why we should be in line with the act. We also shared on that. Thank you very, very much to the Honorable Deputy. Now we'll go to the 10 minutes break. Please resume everyone after 10 minutes break. Please resume on time. And in the break, we have a Nip Bahadur Aud.
र यो ब्रेकको समयमा चाहिँ हाम्रो निप बहादुर अड हुनुहुन्छ, जो चाहिँ धनगढीको मेयर साहब हुनुहुन्छ। उहाँको भिडियो क्लिप हामीले यहाँ देखाउनेछौँ र प्रस्तुत गर्नेछौँ भन्दै 10 मिनेटको समय सबैलाई ब्रेकको लागि अनुरोध गरे। हस्, धन्यवाद।
चाहन्छु सबैलाई र साथै धनगढीको महानगरपालिका नगर प्रमुख मनिर बहादुर र उत्तरदायित्व सम्बन्धी जो वास्तवमा स्थानीय सरकार, प्रदेश सरकार, संघीय सरकारको जुन अहिले यो महामारीको बेला हामी तीनटै सरकार प्रमुखहरू हरेक क्षेत्रमा जिम्मेवार र संवेदनशील हुन आवश्यकता छ। त्यो आवश्यकतालाई पूरा गर्दै हरेक नागरिकका समस्याहरू, हरेक नागरिकलाई परेका अप्ठ्याराहरू र हरेक नागरिकका बारेमा सोच्ने काम र कर्तव्य हामीहरूको हो, जनप्रतिनिधिहरूको हो। किनभने विकासका कुराहरू, स्वरोजगारका कुराहरू गर्ने र नागरिकलाई शान्ति र सुरक्षा प्रवाह गर्ने जिम्मेवारी पनि हाम्रो हो। त्यसैले हामी त्यसमा संवेदनशील छौँ। अहिलेको परिस्थिति, अहिलेको अवस्थामा जुन यो कोभिड-19 ले जुन अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय रूपमा विश्वमै तहल्का मचाएको अवस्थामा हामीले धेरै कुराहरू गर्ने कोसिस गरिराखेका छौँ। र अर्को कुरा च्यालेन्जिङ पनि छ। धनगढीको महानगरपालिकालाई अन्य स्थानीय सरकारभन्दा सीमामा परेको कारणले अहिले पनि 1 महिना भइसक्यो, दिनको 5000 देखि 6000 मानिसहरू आइराखेको अवस्था छ। हिजो 48 दिनसम्म नाकामा रहेका नेपाली नागरिकहरूलाई हामीले यहाँ प्रवेश गराउने वातावरण सिर्जना गर्यौं र त्यसपछि गएर अहिले आउने 4000 5000 दिनको 6000 आउने मान्छेलाई एक छाक खानाको व्यवस्था गर्दै उहाँहरूलाई आफ्नो गन्तव्यसम्म पुगाउने र अन्तिममा जे जति बचे छन् त्यसलाई होल्डिङ सेन्टर राखेर एउटा ट्रान्जिट राखेर नवदुर्गा अहिले हामीले ट्रान्जिट पोइन्ट राखेका छौँ र उहाँहरूलाई साँझको खाना बिहान नास्ता गरेर अहिले हामीले उहाँहरूलाई सम्बन्धित ठाउँमा पठाउने कामहरू गरिराखेका छौँ। त्यो 77वटै जिल्लामा हामीले पठाइराखेको अवस्था छ। त्यसलाई व्यवस्थापन गरेर 77वटै जिल्लामा पठाइराखेको अवस्था छ र त्यो हामीले पहिले गर्नु पर्थ्यो, तर हामीले 60 दिनपछि सुरु गऱ्यौँ। त्यो स्टार्टिङमै हामीले त्यो वातावरण सङ्घीय सरकारले त्यो वातावरण सिर्जना गर्नुपर्ने थियो कि मेरो देशको नागरिकहरूलाई छिटोभन्दा छिटो आउने वातावरण सिर्जना गरिदिनु पर्यो भनेर अन्य देशहरू सबैसँग चाहिँ यो किसिमको कुराहरू गर्नुपर्ने थियो। र अर्को परिस्थिति अहिले हरेक चिजहरू महँगो छ, हरेक चिजहरू मार्केटमा छैन, हरेक चिजहरू त्यो चिजहरूलाई व्यवस्थापन गर्नका लागि पनि हामीले समन्जस च्यालेन्जिङ छ। यसमा अख्तियारका कुराहरू छन्, मिडियाका कुराहरू छन् र यसमा मिडियाका साथीहरूले सकारात्मकताका साथ अगाडि बढिदिनु हुन पनि आवश्यकता छ। किनभने यो समयमा वास्तवमै यो समयमा हामी अनुगमनकारी हो, अनुगमन गर्ने पक्ष हो, तर त्यसका बावजुद पनि किनभने सामान पाइरहेको छैन, हिडडुल भइराखेको छैन। त्यो भएका कारणले व्यवसायहरूले पनि त्यो समस्या झेल्नु परेका कारणले समस्या छ, महँगो छ, रेटहरू महँगो छ, बढेको छ, त्यसलाई घटाउन सक्ने सम्भावना छैन। अहिले अफिसहरूलाई सामानहरू दिन व्यापारी साथीहरूले छोडिसकेको अवस्था छ। जस्तै अहिले 3 चोटि हाम्रो प्रदेशले 3 चोटि चाहिँ PCR मसिनलाई खरिद गर्ने क्रममा तेस्रो चोटिसम्म पनि टेन्डर निकाल्दा कुनै पनि खरिदकर्ताले चाहिँ त्यसमा टेन्डर हालेको छैन। किनभने सबैलाई आफ्नो किसिमको डर छ, हामीले पनि त्यो गर्न डर छ। त्यसैले गर्दा धेरै कुराहरू संवेदनशील भएर हिँडेका छौँ र केही कुराहरू गरेका पनि छौँ। जस्तै सेनिटाइजर चाहियो, मास्कहरू चाहियो, ग्लोभ्सहरू चाहियो, थर्मोगनहरू चाहियो। मार्केटमा 2500 रुपियाँमा पर्ने, हिजो 2500मा पर्ने थर्मोगनहरू अहिले 9,500सम्म पनि 9,500, 8,500, 6,500 र अहिले आएर 3,3500मा पाइराखेको अवस्थामा हामीले त्यो कामहरू गरिराखेका छौँ। प्रभावकारिताको कुराहरूमा जस्तै होम क्वारेन्टाइन र क्वारेन्टाइनलाई व्यवस्थापन गरिराखेका छौँ। अहिले पोजिटिभहरूलाई आइसोलेसनमा राख्ने व्यवस्थापन हामीले गर्न नसकेका कारणले विद्यालयको ब्लकमा चाहिँ उहाँहरूलाई अलग्गै व्यवस्थापन गरेर पनि राखेका छौँ भनेर पनि अहिले पोजिटिभ RDT पोजिटिभ चाहिँ 8 जना पुगिसकेका छन्, तर हामीले उहाँलाई आइसोलेसनमा ल्याउन सकेका छैनौँ। हामीले होम उसमै चाहिँ त्यो ब्लकमा राखेर बसेको अवस्था छ र आइसोलेसन हस्पिटल हामी तयारी गर्दैछौँ। र अहिले अब अर्को समस्या भनेको RDT को समस्या भइराखेको छ, PCR को समस्या भइरहेको छ। किनभने 5 दिनसम्म 7औं दिनसम्म चाहिँ PCR चेक भइरहेको छैन, पोजिटिभ निस्केको छ। मान्छेहरू 14 दिन होइन 21 दिन 22 दिन क्वारेन्टाइनमा बस्ने परिस्थिति सिर्जना भइराखेको छ। त्यसैले गर्दा के भने अहिलेको परिस्थितिमा यो अवस्थामा सजिलो र सहजता सबै पक्षबाट, मिडियाबाट, नागरिक समाजबाट, समाजसेवीबाट, सबैबाट सकारात्मक रूपमा, किनभने भन्न धेरै सजिलो छ। जस्तै किन 14 दिनबाट घरमा पठाएन, घरमा पठाउनका लागि RDT टेस्ट गर्नु पर्यो, RDT छैन। अनि त्यो अब मिडियाले त्यसलाई घरमा पठाएन भनेर मिडियामा ल्याउने भन्दा पनि के हो त कारण, किन पठाउन सकिएन भनेर उहाँहरूले त्यो किसिमको गर्यो भने त्यो एउटा किसिमको हुन्छ। अनि हाम्रो कोभिड पोर्टल पनि हामीले सुरु गरेका छौँ, आपतकालीन समितिहरू पनि हामीले बनाएका छौँ, सबैले बनाएका छौँ र संयुक्त रूपमा पनि हामी RDT र PCR अहिले मात्रै पनि हामी 3वटा नगरपालिका धनगढी, गोदावरी र गौरीगङ्गा नगरपालिकाको प्रमुख 3वटै बसेर 12 वनको संयोजकमा बसेर के गर्न सकिन्छ भन्ने छलफल गरेर पनि आएका छौँ। र अब अहिलेको समस्या भनेको PCR मसिन र RDT मसिन हो। त्यसका व्यवस्थापनमा 3वटै सरकार र हामी स्थानीय सरकार एकजुट भएर अगाडि बढ्नुपर्छ भन्ने कुरा। धन्यवाद। सर्वप्रथम त म नमस्कार।
हेलो नमस्ते, मेरो नाम आजुको नोनमुरा, कागावा युनिभर्सिटीबाट। मेरो पृष्ठभूमि प्राकृतिक प्रकोप जोखिम आकलन र समुदायको प्रतिरोधात्मक क्षमता अनुसन्धान हो। यो संक्रमण मेरा लागि नयाँ विषय हो। म जापानको स्थिति बारेमा जानकारी दिन्छु। यी सामान्य जानकारीहरू मात्रै हुन्। यो ग्राफले जनवरीको अन्तिमदेखिको संक्रमणको स्थिति देखाउँछ। तपाईलाई थाहै छ कोभिड-19 चीनबाट सुरु भएको हो। जनवरीमा मैले जापानमा त्यस्तो समस्याको रूपमा लिइन, तर चीनमा थुप्रै जापानी कम्पनीहरूको शाखाहरू भएको कारण भने मलाई डर लागेको थियो। जापानमा कोभिड-19 को सुरु डायमन्ड प्रिन्सेस लग्जरी लाइनबाट भएको हो, फेब्रुअरीको सुरुवातबाट। त्यसपछि फेब्रुअरीको मध्यतिर पहिलोचोटि कोभिड-19 का कारण मृत्यु भयो। संक्रमणको संख्याहरू बढ्दै गयो। जापानमा त्यो समयमा घरमै बसेर काम गर्न भनिएको थियो। त्यसैले सरकारले आर्थिक सहयोगहरू गर्न थाल्यो, विशेष गरी साना र मझौला उद्योगहरू स्थापना गर्नलाई। फेब्रुअरीको अन्त्यतिर सरकारले एलिमेन्टरी, जुनियर हाई स्कुल र हाई स्कुलहरूलाई अस्थायी रूपमा बन्द गर्ने निर्णय गर्यो। जापानमा पहिलो चरणको कोभिड-19 पहिलो चरण मार्चको मध्यतिरबाट सुरु भयो। सरकारले संकट घोषणा गर्यो, विशेष गरी 7 वटा मुख्य स्थानहरूमा, जस्तै टोकियो, वासाका र क्योगोमा। संक्रमणको संख्या बढ्दै गएपछि सरकारले जापानैभरि संकटको घोषणा गर्यो। संकटको समयमा धेरै कम्पनीहरूले घरमै बसेर कामहरू गर्न थाले र धेरै मानिसहरू कार्यालयमा उपस्थित हुन छाडे। धेरै विश्वविद्यालयहरूले पनि दूर शिक्षा थाले। हाम्रो कावावा युनिभर्सिटीमा पनि त्यस्तै भयो। एलिमेन्टरी स्कुल, जुनियर हाई स्कुल र हाई स्कुलहरू अस्थायी रूपमा बन्द गरिए। सामाजिक दूरी कायम राखेर मात्रै सुपरमार्केटहरू खोलिए। मानिसहरूले झण्डै 80% सामाजिक भेटघाट कम गरे। जुन महिनाको सुरुवातमा छौं। अहिले संकटकाल सकिसकेको अवस्थामा जापानमा हामी नयाँ तरिकाले चलिरहेका छौं। यो सुरुवात मात्रै हो, हेरौं के हुन्छ।
Hello, namaste. My name is Atsuko Nonomura.
Our mission is twofold. One is to produce world-class crisis manager who can handle both human-made and nation-made disasters.
सर्वप्रथम त म नमस्कार गर्न चाहन्छु सबैलाई र साथै धनगढीको महानगरपालिका नगर प्रमुख मनिरको आदर हो र उत्तरदायित्व सम्बन्धी जो वास्तवमा स्थानीय सरकार, प्रदेश सरकार, संघीय सरकारको जुन अहिले यो महामारीको बेला हामी तीनटै सरकार प्रमुख हरेक क्षेत्रमा जिम्मेवार र संवेदनशील हुन आवश्यकता छ। त्यो आवश्यकतालाई पूरा गर्दै हरेक नागरिकका समस्याहरू, हरेक नागरिकलाई परेका अप्ठ्याराहरू र हरेक नागरिकका बारेमा सोच्ने काम र कर्तव्य हामीहरूको हो, जनप्रतिनिधिहरूको हो। किनभने
यस कार्यक्रममा सहभागी मित्रहरूलाई हाम्रो समयले नेटो काटिसकेको भएको कारणले गर्दा भित्र आएर बस्दिन हुनको लागि म हार्दिक अनुरोध गर्दछु।
Check, check. Check. Check, check. Hello, hello.
देशको नागरिकहरूलाई छिटोभन्दा छिटो आउने वातावरण सिर्जना गरिदिनु पर्यो भनेर अन्य देशहरू सबैसँग चाहिँ यो किसिमको कुरा।
अब हाम्रो सेसनलाई अगाडि बढाउनको लागि म यो सेसनमा रहेको छ सूचना पहिचान र सञ्चारको माध्यम आपतकालीन र जोखिम सञ्चारमा टेक्नोलोजी पहिचान गर्दै भन्ने विषयमा यो सेसन सुरुवात गरिदिन हुनको लागि म हाम्रो सूचना तथा सञ्चार त्यसै गरेर पत्रकार पनि हुनुहुन्छ, यसमा विज्ञ पनि हुनुहुन्छ। त्यो भएको कारणले गर्दा उहाँलाई म यस मञ्चमा निम्त्याउन चाहन्छु। डाक्टर विज्ञान शर्माज्यूलाई म स्वागत गर्न चाहन्छु। अबको सेसन, अबको प्रस्तुतिकरण म उहाँलाई प्रस्तुत गरिदिन हुनको लागि म हार्दिक अनुरोध गर्दछु।
सुरु गरौँ है। ओके, यहाँ भौतिक रूपमै उपस्थित हुनुभएका पार्टिसिपेन्ट,
various participants who are listening and participating virtually. Namaste. So we are here in a crisis communication topics. Well, the crisis communication itself is a very comprehensive and very vague topic. So in 25 minutes, I'll try to share the gist. However, I think you have already received the reading materials. And if you have more concerns on that, you can also listen that or read that for more information. Well, the topics in this session is first how we understand the communication and what is crisis communication, and in the COVID-19 situation, and how, what is the media style, what is the media landscape to portray the COVID crisis. And in a crisis communication, what kind of our target audience, how the message should be prepared, and how to select the media. We'll also focus on that. So how to understand the communication. So in this communication training, since 4 days we have been communicating. We are, continuing the understanding process. This is kind of communication. It is not in apply in our individual life, but also in a professional life. Also, the communication is very pertinent. And you have been listening, but you have a different kinds of opinion in your mind. The communication is very important. Some communication is sometimes one way and sometimes two way. So sometimes if that is a two way, we call it transactional. But if I am only communicating and you are receiving, that is a one way communication. So one way and a two way communication have important role, and they have a special circumstances of it. Move ahead, please. Let's understand one thing. What is the ultimate goal of the objective of the communication? Is what we are trying to say to make them understanding is the ultimate goal. For example, if I am talking something to you, until and unless you are not able to make you understand, then there is no communication. So in communication, there is always purpose. If the purpose is met, then communication is established, and there might be different barriers. If you are not able to listen me, then there is a barrier. And if you are not interested to listen, then there is a barrier. And if my mic is not working, that is also a barrier. And the key spirit of the communication is how to avoid the barriers and deliver the message clearly and on how. That is the key spirit of the communication. So in a crisis situation, we'll talk later, but at first, what is communication? There's a Canadian philosopher, Marshall McLuhan. He talks one thing, not only in your professional life, but also in individual life. If you understand this modality, it's very easy to communicate. What he says is, who said what, in which channel, to whom, and what effect is communication. Who said, for whom, why he said, who got, and which channel, and what is the effect. So if you could analyze these 5 points, then if you are not able to do that, there is no effective communication. So at least I should know your background if I am talking. What is your level of understanding? And whatever medium we are using, how effective is this medium? So that we all are the media. No, it doesn't mean that we all are communicators. So everyone is communication professional and practitioners. Like you are the communicators, because every day you have to communicate with your stakeholders. How can I better dialogue? How can I better talk? So that you are always doing. So communication has an important role. So it is in English. I don't need to repeat. Let's go to next. Well, there's some technicality of the communication. For example, there's some process. For example, when I'm saying something, when we say, so doing process, like when I do the process, then only I speak. Because whatever comes in my mind, I don't speak. So communication, we always do the process of the communication. How does that start? That means the speaker or who senders. What I say is first I process that, then I send that, and then I select the media and I send the message. Sometimes we feel that, like if you are reading newspaper or news articles, you are listening something and your friend is listening, understanding different thing. Because each one has a different receptive capacity and delivering capacity. So in the communication, if you are not able to understand, then the ultimate objective will not be fulfilled, achieved. So here in the crisis, so what is the media situation now? How the media is covering crisis? Let's talk on that. Move ahead, please. So this is very, very important. Like a Director General of WHO said, we are not only fighting with the media, but we are also fighting with the communication. Where we have been listening, pandemics, but infodemic. Yes, this is a new terminology because now we are in a. Interestingly, what happens is the same things. The right informations are gradually spread, but the wrong informations are quickly spread. And one study say that in YouTube, the 1/4 of the YouTube is like making misleading informations are coming in YouTube, which is watching by the millions of people at a time. So that will affect the government as well as the citizen. You can see the screenshot. You can see that in Iran, people use one chemical. As a result, 400 people has to lose their life. And there was a misleading information, and some people say that the cow urine. There is a urine drinking party. One media is say that, and even in Nepal, not only Nepal but also even in America, even the time and again this president say that he gives a lot of tips, but his expressions are very contradictory. So now the communication has very important roles, but we all citizen and elected body and the bureaucracy, and how sensitive we are in terms of information. You can see that Prime Minister's speech, it was also contradictory, because he said that Nepalese immunity is very strong. I said, does that mean I don't mean to indicate any party or in the Prime Minister? So that is also contradictory. I'm not indicating any party or person though. Let's talk crisis and communication. Well, in this kind of crisis situation, so there is a high demand of information. Like there is a protest in front of demonstration and protest. Why for that? That is due to lack of right information. Where does the 10 billion budget goes? Because if government was able to show that on time, then yes, we already saw that. Then we could government could say that, but they didn't share the information on that in a crisis time. It shows that. So in the crisis time, there is a high demand of information. Everyone is needing information. You might have a question. What is happening in quarantine? You may be asked with so many questions. Why isolation center is not available with the food? Where is the money? You may be asked with so many questions by the people. But that's why these questions are raised is we are not able to give that right information that they are seeking. Crisis is a situation where there is a financial loss. Crisis is a situation where there is a human loss. Crisis is a situation where there is a property loss. Crisis is a situation where there is a reputation loss. So when we are not able to properly communicate, then these loss will be hugely increased. And it will affect to the citizen, institution, government, and to everyone. So now, and what will happen if the crisis in the crisis the good communication is there, then the people can make the right information, right opinion. If there is no information, then there is a rumor instead of right information. Then then it can avoid it can minimize the loss and build the image. The ultimate goal is to build the relation between the public and the institutions. Move ahead, please. And the collection of the information, processing, and the distribution is the crisis communication, which will help to reduce the damage or minimize the damage in the other language. And how can we build the smooth, very good relation between the public and institution? Is the process is the crisis communication. So we as a let's talk about the sender, receiver, and the inclusiveness in the language, whether that is the recipient friendly or not, which is very useful in your day-to-day professional life. How to do that? So it can give some idea. Use of appropriate language, because we talk about the communication. The government is for whom? It is for both literate and illiterate. It is for the visual as well as plus for the blinds, because it is only giving in the television or radio is not whether our informations are inclusive or not, and the free from contradiction. For example, whether it is free from bias or the contradiction, and the timely information is very important and relevant information is very important. Then it can not address the people's interest, and the people's interest, human interest story is very important in the information. So let's see the information example. So there is a press release. So now various press release have been published by the various local government. So our information, because so how to create the right information and how to give the right messages. That's why I mentioned this. Please, this is not the allegation or against any for or against the institution. It can help us for the any change or improvement. Few months back, in 26 December, Minister of Finance launched a press release when there was a tsunami in Indonesia. So they said congratulations in terms of this condolence or sympathy. In terms of condolation, there was a congratulation. So what happens? One reporter's news is observed by the desk editor, then the senior editor will see that, then the information is processed. So there is a human error might be there, but so wow, the readers will see that, oh, the Ministry of Finance from the government of Nepal, what is the process of the information? So one is writing in the media, but who is checking? Where is the gatekeeping mechanism? What is the check and balance mechanism in that institution? That is the big question. So when we collect the information or the message, then we have a very important role. That is the example. Move ahead, please. Is the next example. Few months back, the former Prime Minister, Dr. Bauram Bhattai, gave the contradictory views. There was one release by the Radio Nepal that came. Why press release is given to give the information and to create the to build the image, to create the image. So, but Radio Nepal released the press release. They said that in our program there was a mistake. Our speaker could not speak very well. He says something and they say, sorry, apology. But what he said is, oh, Radio Nepal is the government. It is very much controlled by the government, because the image was down. Because why they should, because they removed the website. But when they released this press release, something that they wanted to hide, then it was even important. So when to release the press release and when to publish press release, when not to publish. That was another example. It's about the COVID. Few time ago, so some people say that there will be the COVID test will be done with the fee by paid, and there was a press release by the Ministry of Health and Population. That was okay. You have only 5 more minutes. Okay, thank you. So that so in this press release, there's a one sentence. So somebody said that lack of instead of instead of being in a long queue in the government hospital, you can go in the private for the paying. So that was a negative message, because they should say that our provision is very good, and if somebody don't want to take a risk and don't want to be in the long queue, they can go to the private hospital. That is what they said. When they say that, then what is the image that create among the public? So next, what they said is, they will, because the Minister of Health and Population Data will make a strong actions who will violate the law. We should not say that, ministry should not say that ministry can file the complaint, but the justice system will do the action other, so that government institutions and the public representative should also understand this. So how to use the means of media, like media methods, like we need to have effective tools. The means of media should be properly selected. Like I wanted to add this image, but it is missing. So in Kantipur, so the various message was there. The same information was kept in a same page. Which media is effective? Local media is effective for one municipality or Kathmandu municipality. Kathmandu National Daily is useful, or the municipality local magazine is useful. Radio has its own importance, and they have their own audience. They have their own way to create the message and the style. Television has a different style. Print media have a different style. So if you could pay attention on that, then our information will be very good and effective, and it will connect between the public and institution and help to build the image. Time is running out, so please move ahead. I have already touched on this. So each media have their own characteristics, and one media has one. So I said one model, that for whom, which media, and what kind of information we are creating. Then only we can speak, write, or flow the information. Then the relevancy and the importance and the effectiveness will be increased. It's the same thing. This is in English. So this is my last slide. Here there is information must be. It's the same thing. During the crisis, what communication professionals should focus, because we all are the communicators. What public want to listen, that is important. It's not that what we want to say, but what others want to listen. This much I want to share. If you have any questions and queries, I'll be happy to answer. I think you have already received this slide. So in the future, if you need further information regarding the communications, I'll be more than happy to further interactions. So there's a Twitter handle and Facebook page is there. You can be connected with me. Thank you. Thank you, sir. We'll take one question from the floor. If you have, raise your hand. Namaste, Doctor. Sorry, I'm the PhD scholar. So I'm Navraj Bhatta, Budanikalta Municipality. What I want to know is, like in a local level, there are lacking. There's so many social media, online media, television, radio. There's so many medias. We have a mobile phone as well, but for each household, we don't have effective mediums. What could be the effective mediums? Because everyone has their own identity. Somebody likes SMS, but some people may not understand that. Some might be involved in a social media, but some are not familiar about it. Some can read, some cannot read and write. So that could be problematic for rural area, but also in urban setting. So how can we mobilize that kind of information system to impact the mass population? Thank you. Any other questions? We have some questions from Zoom. Belkot Gadi Nuakot, Deputy Mayor, is asking, nowadays few media, rather than giving authentic information, they are misleading with their information just for their media publicity or like and share, just to increase the like and share. How to select the right media how to disseminate that and to use right media. I'll start from your question. Like as I said, so now we need to give the assurance of the inclusive media, inclusive information. Even the local agencies, they need to analyze the recipients. For example, if there is no soap, then what is the meaning of washing hand with the soap and water? For example, if they are illiterate people, then what is the point of having posters or the news articles? And some places FM stations are very useful. Some places online media is very useful. Some places even newspaper is very useful. So what need to be done is, like each local authority, the news distribution, so they should prepare the overall communication guidelines and who could be our potential readers and what mediums could be appropriate. They have to prepare the comprehensive format, then we can disseminate the right information. And most importantly, now the people are needing the authentic information, but they are lacking information. So now the local agencies are the full of resources, and they are the doctors, they have a press advisors, they have a various why not you release the information in a day-to-day manner, what municipality is doing today, what rural municipality is doing today, so you can give the information to the public, you can develop that mechanism. And the second question was, you talked about the media. We need to understand the two way. One is mass media, sometimes we call it journalistic content, like from the radio, television, and media. And next is, like another is like the disseminative information from the YouTube. So there is a confusion among the public. Which one is journalistic product, which is authentic product, and which is not an authentic product? Public has a confusion. So at least the readers should not create their opinion just reading the headlines. You need to check the cross check. You need to cross check with the other media. That information should be taken by the readers itself, so that they can create their own opinion. Thank you. Thank you, Bigyan Sharma. You have given a lot of information on that. Thank you very much. And let's give him a round of applause. Thank you so much. He was in the crisis communication, information and identification of technology and the communication and information, he was making that sharing. And so what is the crisis communication, what is the role of the communication, and how to select the communication, and if, because each individual have a different styles to understand, and there's a different way to make others understand. So one is talking good things and people might perceive that in a different way. That is depend on the individual recipients as well. Thank you so much for that learning and sharing. He has also involved us in a crisis communication, and he also shared about the media observation on that. Yes, definitely the wrong messages are spread very quick, but the right message is spread very late compared to the wrong information. Thank you very much, Bigyan Sharma. So I'd like to give a small information here. So due to some technical issues, we would like to make an apology for not being able to ask the questions. So we'll try to make the question answer session. So now, from the Ministry of Information, Communication and Technology, we have a Mr. Rishiram Tiwari, and I would like to request Mr. Tiwari for his presentation and session. And now the session is for Ministry of Science, Information, Communication and Technology, and how can we link that with the local government. So for this session, I would like to invite Mr. Tiwari. Sir, welcome. moderator, physically participating participants, thank you, and also for the virtual participants and organizers, Minister of Federal Affairs and General Administration, Tribhuvan University, this institute, and UNDP. From my side and from the ministry, I'd like to thank well, especially the topics is given to me, especially the crisis, in the crisis, emergency communication, and how the ministry can play a role, and the linkage with the local government. I'll speak very briefly. My presentation have a very few slides. Mostly I would like to run through the discussions. Before running through the presentation, in the past, I was working almost for 23 or 24 years in the as a chief district officer, assistant deputy chief district officer, especially in the home affairs sectors. And under the home affairs, Minister of Home Affairs, and I have also worked on some experience and study in disaster management sector. So I would like to share a few incidents, then I would like to move to the communication. Almost in 2006, 2009, 10, you might be people may come from Jumla in virtually. So there was only a rough road constructed that time from Surkhet. There was the zonal hospital was just opening. It was gradually improving. So in 2 hours distance from the headquarters, she came for the delivery with the labor pain. There was a flight connection, but due to the weather condition, the flight was interrupted. So we are not able to provide the delivery because it was a situation was not good. So we had to refer that, and we waited for the plane, but plane could not come. Weather was not favorable, and we did not have any other alternates. So we discussed there, and that time we had only one ambulance, and anyhow with one health assistant and one police, having one police, and we had to transport to the Surkhet. We had to save her anyway. But up to the Kalikot, the road was very rough. What happened? Then there was a road was interrupted due to the landslide. So at 2 p.m. 2 a.m. at night, he called me, the police personnel called me, and at 2 a.m. at night, and there is a road blockade. So what to do? Then what to do? Look, one pregnant woman who was suffering from the labor pain, about to deliver, at any cost we have to save her and give the safe delivery. So what I said is, please have a look if there is any vehicle, and please walk by your foot and across the road. And there was a road, and on the other side there was another vehicle. Then driver was there. There was a vehicle, and there is a vehicle from the road construction. Then I, in that place, then look, there was a phone. At least there was a telephone in that remote area. Then I talked to the Director General of the road. Then there was a CDMA phone. Sometimes it was working, sometimes not. So what I said is, Director General said that he received. Thank God he received that, and I reported the situation. Then he called the driver. Then the driver has to be communicated. He was blocked in the middle of the road. Then luckily the telephone was established, connection was established. As a result, then the woman was shifted from the ambulance to the another vehicle, and by 10 in the morning, then the husband of the wife called me, sir, thank you so much for saving the life of my wife and son. That's what he told me. So the second event I want to share, I was in Dodel in 2011 around. It was in September, but there was a heavy flood in that year. And then there was a flood, and so in September, so and there was only one vehicle, but we had that, this water measurement center, and in the DOC, and in a district disaster management emergency center, and we had a message that there's a heavy water. There was a heavy water, and we get the message, and after that, then we had a community disaster management center, and then we had a Nepal army, and those Nepal army were almost close to the river bank, and we evacuate the Nepal army and also the local people, because we get that information. As a result, we were able to save, minimize the loss. Yes, something were lost, like some kettles, but the human life was very less. And next, when I was a CDO, Chief District Officer in Jhapa, Eastern Nepal, there's a one news about the flood. Like in one rural municipality or the municipality, okay, in number XZ, or the person XYZ was killed or was dead. So that was the official information. But one news agency say that, news broadcasting agency say that in this blah 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 blah, and he was dead. But he did not give the right information. Then he was dead. Somebody was dead, but he broadcast the news that the owner's name was mentioned, the wrong persons was given, the name of the dead family was the wrong. So media wrongly portrayed that. So these are my experiences regarding the importance of the communication. So what is the role of the communication? So that is what I want to share, because you all are the experts, but these are my 3 experiences. After this, I'd like to move in my presentation. So especially when we talk about the role of the ministry, like especially in a disaster management, our constitution has ensured the rights of the information and the communication that is there. Besides that, our DM Act also talks about the crisis in communication, because Act and regulation has also expressed some of the opinions on that, and registration of the daily newspaper or the magazines, that is also in a provision by some this National Broadcasting Act, or from the this Printing Act, that where then radio televisions can be registered and broadcast. We have a Radio Communication Act. We have a regulation on that. We do have a Telecommunication Act, and we have a regulation as well. We have a Press Council Act and regulation. It is also, we do have a Media Code as well. And we do have a the Information Act. So that is ensuring the right to information for the citizen. So we have a national DRR and national strategic plan, which is also approved. We have a national policy on DRR, and we have a national disaster response mechanism, as well as we have a various emergency operation guidelines. We do have that. So how can we establish the emergency communication system and mechanism? Those things are we have in place. So these are the legal documents and the provisions that we have. And now the ministry, the various activities, like especially in a local level, in terms of coordination with the local government, I would like to focus on that. So under this, like the where is the ministry in terms of disaster management? Well, regarding the we have a policy and programs uh, inside the ministry, and we, the ministry have a lead role in emergency and communication. And the WFP is in a assisting role. So we have envisioned the mechanism on there. So along with that, the role of the ministry in telecom sectors in crisis emergency, even in a company flood or the disaster. So there are so many service providers around. There are 5 to 6 telecom sectors, and there are so many internet service providers. And we, how can we utilize them, and also how to run them effectively? That is also the responsibility under the ministry. So the disaster and this, we have this uh, water and weather and climate change department, water and climate department, because uh, after the end of the every news you have this information about the weather forecast. That is also we have a mechanism to disseminate those information. This is how ministry is working. And also, like in a media, either electronic or the print, government media, private media, and also the non-government sectors. So this is how we have been running the information. And regarding the, we have a national broadcasting regulations, and specific information should be freely broadcasted. That is the provision, uh, legally insured. Along with that, now we have only 10 more minutes. So likewise, emergency communication frequencies are assigned. For example, like in a provincial level, like there is a emergency operation centers. District level there is emergency operation centers. We have a national emergency operation center, and we do have a various frequency that we issued, and we can only talk in that frequency. And besides that, we have a common frequency network operations, because that is for common. One is for the district. We have a common frequency networks, and we have been also taken that, and we do have an operation mechanism for that. Besides that, we have a rapid communication, radio communication, and if there is a huge disaster time, and at any time when there is, if we are not able to operate any means of communication, we have a rapid radio communication. This is how also we have a provision to make that communication, but we have very limit, only in a few. One is provided to the Nepal police, and one is purchased by the Nepal police. We do have a satellite phone, walkie-talkies. Those provisions are, and we do have some amateur radio clubs, and they have been doing this in when there is no other means. Then they are doing this, and also the social media and coordination with the different stakeholders. This is how also we have been doing our activities. And well, in the disaster time, the informations are somehow misleading, and wrong informations are broadcasted or circulated. To avoid those things, we have been doing various press meet and disseminating rightly disseminating the information. Sometimes even at 9 or 10 we do the press meet and disseminating the information of the government. And MOSP is also doing a daily press meet, that is also happening. And likewise, we want to ensure that only authentic information will be flowed. So yes, some misleading informations are there, where the press council is regulating on that. So those registered sites will be taken into action, and those unregistered sites are also closed, and some sites are also closed. So, and this is how we are doing, and also running call centers. with the local government, what could be the role with the local government, because in terms of work, because they have been doing in a very fundamental level, in the basic level, work is under the government's responsibility, local government responsibility, so that in the disaster time, in the crisis time, the local government has to coordinate with the districts, district disaster management committee, as well as with the provincial government. That is the legal provision. And in a grassroots level, in the local LDMC, local disaster management committee, should be well coordinated on that, and also various NGO partners can coordinate. The local FM radio, online media, and television can be used. And since now we have an amended National Broadcasting Act, where uh, local FM stations can have a different certain level of certain what they can have a licensing for the local radio operations. And also mobilization of the social media is very important to flow the information. Likewise, within your territory, like during the emergency situation, you can have a radio walkie-talkie or the satellite phones. That kind of use can be done in the that kind of things can be used by the local level. Likewise, and we have a various guidelines that the government has endorsed. You can use that guidelines to have a communication facilities. And besides that, disaster risk information should be properly shared so that we can give the right information to the public. I can see that. And along with that, optimum utilization of the resource, coordinate with the operators, and coordinating with the Nepal police. Nepal, they have only 5 minutes. Coordinating with the Nepal police, APF, NEOC, GOC, province level emergency operation centers. So they have a various communication equipment tools that we have to utilize and use the communication. And this is how we can do this communication. And especially in the crisis communication, as I said, like authentic communication with the security agency, taking the authentic information, like the mobilization of the social media, local media, and coordination with the telecom operators, and for the smooth operation of the services, and coordinating with the FM radio stations, and amateur radio operators, amateur radio operators, creating the list of amateur radio operators. Likewise, mobile phone, walkie-talkie, that kind of things can be used, and the use of local FM radio stations, and we can also use the rapid communication systems. If we could do so, then in fact we can coordinate about the communication things. So in the future, for the crisis communication or the emergency communication, we have to rehabilitate the telecommunication rehabilitation programs, and we have to have an emergency code of conduct should be prepared by local government, can also do that. Along with that, the communication that we, whether the target group, we have to ensure, for example, use of sign language or use of local language. So those information should be disseminated and circulated, or disseminated up to those local peoples. Based on that, we have to reach. And along with that, in the future, through the various educational programs in a local level about the emergency communication system, how can we establish that? So we can also include those things in academy, through the university to the high school level and school level. If we could do so, then I think it will have a further contribution. With this, I would like to end my quick presentation. Thank you. We'll take some questions. Thank you, sir. Please ask the straight question. My question is, in a local level, you said giving approval in Kathmandu context, up to 100 watt. Whether in Kathmandu up to 100 watt radio can be open or not in Kathmandu Valley. Next question. One is from Zoom. He is CP Gharti Magar from Jajarkot Veri municipality, Minister of Communication Communication and IT during the COVID-19. To control the rumors, what ministry is developing mechanisms and how it is working? Next question is Sangeeta Bhandari, Amargadi municipality, Dadel Dhura. She is deputy mayor. What sort of communication mechanism or the system is appropriate to give the information to different types of people? So I'd like to request you to answer that. Very important question I raised. Thank you so much for the questioners. Like talking about the radio frequency, the problem. It's very true that in Kathmandu Valley, so there is already frequency consumption is very high. Now we are not in a position to give the frequency operation, but few radios are not in operation. Then that time we can give that up to 100 watts. Once the local government can make that, and we can give that through the local government. That is already amended in the National Broadcasting Act. If there is empty, then we can give. But now around 30 to 35 frequencies can be provided by the from province 1 to Sudur Paschim province. Provincial level law is also drafted. Provincial government can give up to 1000 watt, and based on that also we can give share the frequencies. But in Kathmandu, yes, we have a problem. Is that the 0.3 in a frequency gap? So I'm not the technical person, but technically, so if there is a big capacity radio, then 0.2 and 0.3 is, we have seen the 0.2 or 0.3. If there is a less capacity, then there is in between 2 or 3. But generally it's a 3.3. We are trying to maintain the 0.3. Yes. And the second question was how to control the rumor and what ministry is doing. The registered communication mediums, usually these rumors are not broadcasted from the registered one, but on-site or unregistered mediums are disseminating a lot of rumors, and we have some controlling mechanism. Press Council is doing that, and once those rumors are disseminated, and we have a regular monitoring and evaluation. And once those complaints are there, then if we receive those complaints or grievances, then we have a Press Council Act based on that code of conduct and regulations and the Act of Press Council. And if there is any misleading information or illusions, the fake news, then if that is a online and if that is an unregistered site, and if there is an online method, then we can request to the Nepal Telecom Authority to block that. So that is the provision. And if there is a registered one, and Press Council is taking actions based on their act. And the media should be free and independent. With the notion, we have a separate mechanism in the Press Council. And in the crisis situation, Dadel Dhura, Sangeeta Madam asked that question. Well, regarding that, in a local level, in Dadel Dhura, there are so many radios. 6-7 years ago, I was in Dadel Dhura. There are so many radios. So in a disaster time, the local FMs are very useful. That is also my experience. So I think we have to coordinate with them, and the television, online mediums should be also well coordinated by the local government. Based on that, and the verified information should be disseminated, broadcasted. For example, in emergency situations, even at night time also, we can give the information from the radio or the television about the crisis information in a local level. That can be done in coordination with the local government, local level, district disaster management committee, as well as local disaster management committee. What I would like to share is we have a disaster management regulations, and in a DDMC, if there's any misleading information, they have a right, some rights to control those misleading information. That is the information I would like to end with this. Thank you. Before that, due to the technical problem, we were not able to take the question, and now he is from the Zoom, and in 1 minute, I'd like to ask him to put his question. Yogendra sir. We are not able to listen you, sir. I think you have to unmute, sir. Yes, yes, we can listen you. The sound is not quite clear for the interpreter to interpret. Apology for not being able to interpret the questions. The question was not clearly heard. So, thank you so much. Your question was very reflective, and in terms of COVID-19, even in telecommunication, yes, Nepal government is giving some some orders to subsidize some give some subsidy in voice and data. They have given some data package and giving 25% subsidy. That was done with the decision of the government, and the ministry give the decision direction and order to the telecom operators, and that was applicable to data as well, voice plus data. There is a 25% subsidy. Likewise, and telecom service providers, and when there is a zero balance for 7 days, and few voice calls can be done for a week. So that was also in the in an initial phase. They had that kind of provision, and based on the needs, so the Nepal government will make some decisions, and we are giving some subsidies. Along with that, yes, now the data pack is very expensive, and in terms of that, Nepal government, ministry, and the telecom providers, service providers, how can we make it competitive and the low price? So in few times, so when we have to procure the internationally, then when there is this tender, call for tender, then I think it will be even cheap, low price. So once the provider can procure in a cheaper price, then I think the customer will get the better rate. Thank you so much for your questions. Thank you. Thank you. Ministry of Communication, Information and Technology, Joint Secretary. Thank you very much, Mr. Rishi Ram Tiwari, sir. Thank you so much for effective sharing. I'd like to thank for you. Thank you very, very much on behalf of participants and from my personal capacity. Thank you very much. Okay, sir. Thank you. He was Joint Secretary from the Ministry of Information, Communication and Technology. He also made his sharing based on his experiences when he was working as a CDO or the Deputy CDO, as well as when he was working as a chief administrator. So based on his experience, he shared his presentation. With this contribution also, he shared that, service is the key spirit. So to serve the effective way, the communication is very important. So thank you very much, and especially the role of the ministry in disaster time. In the period of disaster, communication is very important. And for the communication, what are the provision in the act, and what kind of medias are working, and the register, how the registered and unregistered media can play a role, and how we are regulating these things. So thank you very much. He made a presentation on that. So because we have to coordinate with the local media, that's what he mentioned. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Tiwari. And now the time is already running out, so we are at the end of the time. So in my final statement, what I would like to say is, I'd like to thank all the directly participating participants as well as the participant from the virtual platform. I would like to give a big thank to you all, and with this, our speakers for today, I would like to thank for all the speakers from today, and thank you so much to the team of organizer for allowing me to facilitate for this program. Thank you, millions of thanks to Dr. Thapalia, Ram Thapalia, and to make this program, all the technical teams and technical panels, I would like to thank you. With this, I would like to end the 4th day of the program right here. With this, I'd like to end this session. Thank you. बन्द भयो सर घरिन्छ हो यस्तै बोल्यो थाकियो त के सूचना आएछ
इन्ड गर्दै छोड्दिनुहोस्
होइन ठिक छ